us to communicate. But let me know, I try to fix the problem. All right, and first of all, welcomes to the IS307, right? So this is comparative politics. And I would like to express my sincere apologies for not being able to, manage to take you since last week, okay, because last week could be supposed to be the first week that we start our class, right? So today is the first week, okay, so actually we can say it's the first week that we meet with one another. But hopefully I will find a good times to have a makeup class, so that we may have the, we may catch up with the other classes as well, okay, not run out of them. Okay, so this I will talk about this later. Okay. So today it's supposed to be the first class, so actually I don't supposed to teach you for the 2 sessions. Okay, so actually we may just spend like 1 session and actually end our discussion, because we are going to discuss the course syllabus, and basically it could be time consuming that I will, ask you guys from one by one. So actually, I will try to get to know you later in speak on. So you don't have to make any kind of self-introduction. All right, but let me briefly introduce myself, because most of you guys here can be new to me actually. Okay, but I don't know whether how many of you who have known me so far. Okay. All right, so very brief. Okay, so actually I will make it short. Okay, so my name is Sokko Sinara. Okay, so you can call me Nara, lecturer Nara, or you can call me SK, and it will be fine. Right? You can refer to my initial. Okay. And regarding my educational backgrounds, actually I possess 2 bachelor degrees. So one is related to Bachelor of Law, and another one is a Bachelor of Teaching English as a Foreign Language. Okay. And I also hold 2 master degree as well. Okay. So one could be related to TESOL, okay, teaching English to speaker of other languages. Okay. So in the previous year, I used to teach, academic writing and reading, right? So that could be some of the first year students during that time come to meet me again within this year. Okay. And my second master degree, I got my second master degree in peace study in Japan. So that's why I have been teaching comparative politics and conflict resolution for year 4 student as well. Okay, so maybe in the next academic year we may have met each other again. Okay? But it's just like if there is nothing changed, right? So we may meet each other again in conflict resolution. Okay. All right, it's very short. Okay, so actually, but this is my in 2006, so it's kind of like 4 or 5 years already in a row that I has been teaching comparative politics. So I believe that from my previous year experience, I can share my knowledge, okay, or my experience in teaching this course in the insightful or meaningful way. So hopefully we can work with one another and try to make our class, okay, or make more fruitful outcome for our classroom learning, right? All right, but if you have any question, feel free to ask me. So because actually I try to make it short, I don't want to spend a lot of time to talk in detail about my educational background and my teaching experience, but actually just briefly tell you guys regarding this information. So by this, um, you may get to know me a little bit, and you may have any question, you can raise. So if you have any question, you can raise now. It's be fine. If not, I will ask you, right? No question, right? It's be fine.
No questions.
Okay, so now um, let me ask you, what is your expectation from this course? Okay? Can you tell me a little bit, okay, what you expect to learn from this course? Because you just, you know, you have known the names of our course, right? Comparative politics. So what do you expect to learn from this course? So be active, okay? Because I want to make our classroom uh, um, interactive. Okay, it's gonna be interactive discussion rather than just like um, um, just talking alone, right? Transmitting the information or knowledge to you. But actually, we discuss in order to you know reduce the learning outcome altogether. So by that, if you participate more, actually, it can be the best way that we can learn more as well. Okay? Because you may contribute a lot to the um, class discussion, or maybe you can fulfill the gaps. That you know uh, you may have your own strengths, okay, in some parts, in some areas. Okay, so that's why if you share your knowledge, so I think our class we gain more, insightful knowledge from all of you because you have your own strength. Okay. All right. So anyone volunteer to give me your expectation? It can be short, right? Just maybe you just are thinking of the important topics that we are going to learn from this course.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so for me, what I expect from this course is I want to learn the conflict between superpower politically and economically, and their use of their power, like soft power and hard power, on the smaller state in order to benefit themselves.
All right. So yeah, this can be part of the way in which that we learn about the politics, but simply like we tend to focus or interest more about the you know the you know the international relation subject rather than the comparative politics. Because when we talk about comparative politics, somehow we tend to understand the domestic politics, and we try to understand one domestic politic by comparing political topics across different countries. But at least, there could be some part that we can see how once they come up with their policy. So throughout the cases in comparative politics, you will see how each state come up with the domestic politic and also domestic policy and foreign policy. Okay, so what could be their position regarding any kind of a global issue as well. Okay, so it can be part of what you expect to learn. Okay. All right, and I have seen one student raise your hand. So who wanted to share your idea of your expectation?
Mitch. So my expectation from this course is that after learning, maybe I can understand the origin of prosperity and compare why some country rich and some country poor. That's it, sir.
All right, so this can be a very good point as well, because this can be the best way that we can learn from how the rich country, come up with their policy, okay, to boost their social economics, growth, okay, and maybe to some point we can apply those model, okay, in the server country as well, okay, because we can, actually we can make just very little, a chain, right, and then to some point we can, apply it, and then we possibly find a better chain in the, in a specific country, especially you mean about the, the poor country or less developed country, right? Yes, of course, this can be a very good expectation as well. And what else that you expect to learn? Okay.
Tell me.
Yes, please.
I expect to learn many types of political system as well as government system, and how those political systems bring power and development to the state differently. Like there are more powerful and developed state, while other is less developed and weak state. Something like that. How political system play role in those development of the states.
All right, so good. So this can be something important for the, for the scope of our discussion within our course as well, because we want to, look at the different government form, okay, the government system, okay, whether which one that can provide, the far-reaching impact, especially on the social economics developments to the people. Okay, so that's why we will look at the advantages and disadvantages of the different government form. For example, like presidential system, parliamentary system, or semi-presidential system, and then we come to critically analyze to what extent that we can better, improve the current situation in a specific context. Right. So this can be one of the important topics that we are going to discuss as well. Okay, within our course. Okay. All right. Any other idea or expectation? Okay. So I have found that very interesting that you come up with, very interesting topics, and you may find out how you can learn from those topics through our course. Okay? Right, and what else do you expect to learn from politics, compared to politics? And can anyone define the term politics? Okay, because if you can define the term politics, so basically you may broaden your understanding the scope of our discussion within our course. And you normally hear the word politics so far. Frequently you hear a lot, right, regarding politics. So can you define the term politics?
Can I try that?
Yes, please.
Politics. Uh, I can say politics is the activity that people like make and preserve and amend like rules under the state that they live in.
Very good. So you're right. So politics is, about human activities, right? So it can be the activities, made by the different group within society, right? Because within a society, there could be different political actors. For example, like politician, right? So they form into political party in order to compete for public office, right? And there could be the people, right? Like the ordinary voters. So actually they come to vote in order to elect any leader that they like, right? And we also have, you know, the interest group or cause group. Okay, right. So also good, right? The accumulation of powers, okay, to make decisions. Right. So when we talk about politics, it's about the powers, right? So actually, they do politics because they want to acquire the powers, right? So in short, we can say that politics is a human activities, okay, struggling for powers. But again, why do we want to get the powers? Or like Udam already, you know, defined here, you can see that you get the power to make decisions, right? So actually, they want to get the power because they want to make you know, authoritative decision on the behalf of the different groups. Okay? So generally, you can see that because of the struggle for powers and because they want to get the powers in order to make a decision on the behalf of the other groups. So there could be a lot of conflict, you know, can be resulted from the competition, right? So if the competition cannot be free and fair, and then it will lead to conflicts, and then we will see how, you know, a politic bring a lot of social issue that we are going to discuss and find a better solution based on the political system within a specific context. Okay, so because of the activity that they struggle for power, and then it led to, you know, the conflict. So to some point, you can see that the politics can be defined as the, you know, the human activities struggling for powers, and it can be related to the competition and the conflict, you know, within a specific context, because, you know, like I already mentioned, if they cannot produce a free and fair competition, and then it will lead to conflict. Okay, because maybe there could be the other group who are living within that society, you know, are not happy about the, you know, the group who compete for power, but they use, you know, unfair procedure to get the power, and then it will lead to the conflict. You know, eventually it will lead to the conflict, and then this is, you know, important for us to learn and to change the situation. Okay, how to avoid those kind of conflict, to promote the a peaceful competition within, you know, a society. All right, but again, all is about the powers. Okay, and when we talk about the politics, you know, we will discuss who's supposed to get the power, right, to govern the society, to regulate the behavior of the people within a society, or who get the power in order to issue or enforce the rule and law, right, or to produce the policy that can favor the interest of the publics, right? So we talk about who get the power and how the power can be, you know, acquires, okay, and what could be the important decision that can be made, okay, based on, you know, those who govern the society. Okay? So all of this can be about, you know, the scope of our discussion within, you know, politics. Okay? All right. Okay, so when you got the definition of politics, so again, you can see that now the scope of our discussion can be very broad, right? So who's supposed to get the powers? Who's supposed to get the power and exercise the powers on the behalf of the other groups? Okay.
It should be political party.
Yes, the political organization, right? The political party who, you know, get the support from the public, because we talk about the legitimate government, right? So the government that can be supported or acknowledged by the people. So that's why when we talk about the government who gets the powers, okay, to make a decision, so actually we may refer to state and the government here. You are right. So generally, what? Yeah, right. So that's why at first we are going to discuss the the function and the structure of the state. Okay, so we discuss about the development of the modern state, and we come to discuss the core feature of the state, right, and the important phases of the state development, the catalyst of the state development, okay, and why the state has been created. Okay, but when we talk about this, the when we discuss, the core feature of a state, we generally you can see that one of the core element of a state can be the government, right? The legitimate government that has uh, the legitimate power, right? They have the sovereignty, right? The internal and external sovereignty, and they have the power to make a decision on the behalf of the other groups. So actually, you can see within a state, they can act independently, right, without any kind of interference from the other state, right? And generally, you can see that the powers, that they have can be acknowledged, can be recognized by the other state as well, right? So we talk about um, it can be the territory, the people, right? So it can be the legitimate government and the term sovereignty, right? So all of this can be something important, right? So you can see a lot that involved in the political phenomenon that we are going to discuss from our course. Okay. All right. But besides state and government, right? So actually, you mentioned that what could be the government form, right? The government form, the government system that can produce how can we say, produce a far-reaching impact, right, on the interest, the will, the need, the value of the people, right? And so far, you can see that basically when we talk about the government form that can produce that can fulfill the core value of the people can be democracy, right? Democracy can provide not only this social and economics right for them, but actually it can be political right, so they can actively participate freely, right? So they can participate directly with the government health activities. So we talk about the participatory democracy, right? So that's why we will talk about the democracy, and you can see that among 109 that recognized by the United Nations. So actually, you can see that around 70 to 80% of those states who adopts democracy. Right? So that's why we come to discuss why they change to the democracy. So what could be their democratic challenges? Okay. Throughout the process of democratization within their context. And basically, you can see that because not all the democratic state can be cannot advance to embedded democracy. So that's why we come to discuss about some challenges or shortcomings, of those states that cannot, arrive at the democratic consolidation within their society. Okay? So what could be the problems? Okay, but generally, it's important that we need to define the term democracy, right? So can anyone define the term democracy? Okay? Because this can be one of the important topics that we are going to discuss within our course as well.
Sure.
Sure. Yes.
Sure. So for me, democracy is a form of government that the people elect their own representative.
Yeah, so basically you can see that it's a form of government that allows people to, to choose their leaders, okay, the leader that they prefer, right? So in that way, you can see here that if one state is democratic state, so it means that they allows the peaceful opposition, right? What do we mean by peaceful opposition? So basically, it means that the government within that state allows the other groups to form into political party in order to compete for public office, right? So in that way, that's why we call peaceful opposition, right? So they can struggle for power by, you know, a peaceful mean, right? So actually they can form into a political party and run, you know, run their party through the election. So if they get enough support from the public, so they can get the power, and the power can be, you know, transferred to the winner peacefully, right? So we talk about the peaceful transition of power as well. Okay, so this can be one of the, you know, the characteristic of a democracy. But generally, you can see that we can define the term democracy based on the level of practice in different stage, right? For example, like it can be pseudo democracy. Pseudo democracy is like they just name themselves as democracy, but they don't have any kind of real practice of democracy in their context. But they prefer the name of democracy because the government can get some sort of you know, financial support or technical support from the international community, okay? Or in terms of the cooperation, economic cooperation, and so on and so forth. Okay? Or we can have a representative democracy, like people can only you know, vote to choose their leaders, but after the election they tend to be passive. So then we can call only the representative democracy. Okay? But what we expect to get is participatory democracy, right? Embedded democracy. It means that the people can actually participate in, you know, the government health activities. So actually, if they supposed to, if they want, okay, so actually if they want, so they can participate in the government health activity at any time. Okay, so the government will not restrict their political rights or freedom at all. So basically, they have a, you know, a complete fundamental freedom. For example, like freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of demonstration, freedom of association, um, freedoms to information, right? So all of these are important, okay, that can be considered as the fundamental political rights for them. Okay? All right, but basically you can see that we talk about the political rights of the people within that context, and we talk about the mean of the election. So it can be you know, how the political party compete with one another to, you know, to govern the society, okay, and how the government act accountably, right? So we need to have effective government that can adopt, you know, a sound policy that can be responsive to the need of the people. So then we may talk about good governance, right? And we may talk about the transparency, accountability, and public participation, right? And we also talk about the state institution that, you know, work independently, right? So you can see state institution may refer to these three branches of the government, like the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch of government, right? That they work independently without any kind of political you know, interference, okay, from any branch of government. So basically, we may talk about the concept of checks and balances system, right? So this can be something important that we are going to discuss. And generally, you can see that we want to have those state institutions that work independently based on rule of law, not rule by law, right? So rule of law. So then they can check with one another in that context. So all of this can be the democracy, right? So you can see there could be a lot of topic that we are going to discuss within that, right? So the government work, right? The government form. So we will learn about the differences between parliamentary system, the presidential system, the semi or semi-presidential system. Okay. So what is the government form in our country? Can you tell me, guys?
Constitutional monarchy.
Yeah, constitutional monarchy. So by this, you can see that when we hear the term constitutional monarchy, basically there could be there could be two different persons, right, who assume two important roles. Okay, so we hear the word constitutional monarchy. So we have monarch, right? So in that way, the monarch play a role as the head of state, right? They represent state in the foreign in the international communities. So, and we have the head of the government that can be elected by the the legislator, right? The legislator, but it means that the people vote to choose the the parliamentary representative, and the parliamentary members will choose the head of the government, and the head of government is normally coming from the the party who wants the majority seat in the parliament, right? All right, so in this way we will talk about parliamentary system as well. Okay? And can you tell me the state that use presidential system?
The US.
Yeah, it's very well known for US, right? So US use presidential system, right? So in the presidential system, you can see that the president can be the head of state and the head of the government. So this can be one of the main difference between parliamentary system and presidential system. Okay? Right, and we have Philippines, we have South Korea, we have many other states, especially in the Latin America, okay, that they use presidential system. Okay? Can you find or can you name one state that use semi or semi-presidential system? Yeah, Russia, right? Russia can be the semi-presidential system because they have both, right? Like president and prime minister. Okay, and also France, right? France can be the semi or semi-presidential system as well, right? All right. So all of this can be something that we are going to discuss and compare, right? And come up with the some sort of implication, whether which one that can be ideal for the the government form in a specific context. Okay? Right. Okay. So all of this are something that we are going to discuss. Okay. Especially in the second part, and we also talk about the constitution, right? Because it's also important to talk about the constitution, right? And why do we need to have constitution? Can you tell me why do we need to have constitution?
Because it is the supreme law that governs the country.
All right, you are good. So constitution can be the supreme law, right? So if we talk about the hierarchy of law, so constitution has the highest hierarchy. So it simply means that all the other laws, that can be newly created will conform, with the constitution. If it's not comply with the constitution, so it will be unconstitutional. It requires to make amendment, okay, for that reason. And you can see that it's supreme law. It has a a higher status that can be hard to make any amendment as well. Okay, so it's not easy to reform the constitution, right? So because you can see that in order to reform the constitution, we need to have 2/3 supermajority vote by the National Assembly, right? By the legislators, okay, in the National Assembly. And in some context, if that country, if that state, practice a strong bicameralism, so it will even more difficult, okay, in order to make amendments of the constitution. Okay? So strong bicameralism, it means that the two houses, okay, I mean the lower house and the upper house, or in some context we use National Assembly and Senate, okay, are equal in terms of power. So actually they can veto, each others, okay. But in our context, we have weak bicameralism because you can see that the lower house are more powerful. Okay, so the upper house or the Senate cannot, rejects any kind of any intention to pass any law or the policy proposal. Okay, so actually they just give any kind of advice or recommendation, or they can delay the process. Okay, and seek for reconsideration from the National Assembly or the parliamentary members to reconsider, okay, about any point, recommend or advised by the senators. Okay, but they cannot veto. They cannot use their power to veto that point or any law, right? All right, but all of this can be something that we are going to discuss as well. Okay? But again, you can see that the constitution is something important because it kind of a rule of game, right? So because to some point when we define the term politics, it can be a political game, right? So it's supposed to be the rule that allows the player to be aware. So they need to understand the rule of game in order to be the winner or the loser, and how they can, assume the game again, right? So how they can play it again, and how the game can be ended, or how the game can be played again. So this is something important that we state clearly in the constitution, okay, regarding the protection of the people rights, okay, the responsibility, the function, the duty of the state, right, or the state institution, right, or the relation between the state and the government. Okay. All right, so all of these are important. Okay, okay, and we also have some sort of bureaucrat when we talk about this state institution, right? So when we talk about bureaucrats, who do we normally refer to? Bureaucrats?
I think the government, yeah.
The government. So it's going to be different from government, okay? Because the government, can be, elected, okay, can be the elected members, okay, chosen from the parliamentary members, okay, so they can be the cabinet members. So generally you can see that so far in practice in our country, when we talk about the government official or the cabinet members, so actually we count from the Secretary of State, right? But right now, that could be a little bit changed because the Prime Minister want to reduce the cabinet members. So actually, they just refer to the ministry. Okay? Oh, sorry, the minister, right? So the minister can be the cabinet members. Okay? But generally, in real political practice, it can be, it includes the Secretary of State. Nah, រដ្ឋលេខាធិការឡើងណាចឹងគឺរដ្ឋលេខាធិការហើយនឹងរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីហើយមានទេសរដ្ឋមន្ត្រីនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីហើយហ្នឹងគឺជា cabinet member ជា government. Okay? And generally the government cabinet member normally get the vote of confidence from the legislator, right? ចឹងគាត់ត្រូវបោះឆ្លងកាត់ការបោះឆ្នោតផ្ដល់សេចក្តីទុកចិត្តពីសភាណាពីសមាជិកសភា the parliamentary members. But bureaucrats, we refer to the public servant. ចឹង public servant ណាគឺជា they can be recruited by the government as well. You can see that they may have the state exam, okay, to be selected to be recruited as the public servant. So you can see that the Ministry of Civil Service, okay, ក្រសួងមុខងារសាធារណៈហ្នឹងគាត់អ្នក work ទៅលើជ្រើសរើសមន្ត្រីក្របខ័ណ្ឌអញ្ចឹងគឺជា bureaucrat គឺ refer to public servant, and public servant play a role, a very important role as well, because part of the government works that they decide on the policy adoption, right? So actually you can see that the government work with the National Assembly to pass any kind of a policy proposal into the public policy or pass any bill into law, right? But generally the implementation of the law or the policy can be met by the public servant, right? That under the control of the minister, okay, but generally you can see that to some point there could be a lot of problem, because you can see that the power of public servant or bureaucrats can be strong as well. Okay, so actually they stay in their job for a long period of time because they get the permanent status, right? ចឹងគឺគាត់នៅនឹងយូរតតែគាត់ចូលនិវត្តន៍អញ្ចឹងហើយបានមានរឿងច្រើនតាក់ទងជាមួយនឹង the culture of the public servant. Okay, so then we come to talk how we can make some sort of reform. Okay, and to some point we talk about new public management, right? New public management. So we want to adopt the new culture for the public servant work, like the business company that they recruit the contracts workers, okay, and if they cannot perform effectively, they can be fired, right? They can be changed, right? Replaced by the new ones. So it can be another way that they think about how to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the public service delivery. Okay? But there could be a lot of challenges that we are going to discuss as well. If we want to do so, we need to give a lot of money to them, right? Like the private company workers. Right? But because the public servant get little incentive, and then the state cannot have enough resources to hire a large amount of public servant that have the high salary like the private company. Then that can be the problem. Again, then we can discuss more about this as well. Right, and the last part from our course, okay, we will discuss about the different political actors. Can you name some political actors that involve in the political activities?
Prime Minister.
Yeah, Prime Minister. So actually, he is a politician, right? So political party, right? So we will discuss.
CPP.
Yes. What do you mean by it again, please?
You said name a political party, right?
I talk about political actors, political player involved in domestic politics. That got involved in politics. The actors.
Sure. One of the actors that can influence the domestic politics can be the one who have a big, what can I say, a big
influence.
Yes, a big contributor to the policy maker, right?
All right.
Or something like a large profit company.
Capitalist, right? Capitalist. Yep. So it can be the capitalist group, who fund the government. So it can be based on the Marxist perspective that the government can be a tool, okay, that design the policy to favor the capitalists, and the capitalists fund the government, right? That's why the government need to design the policy in order to favor the interests of capitalists in the expense of the interests of the working class. So, but this can be one of the perspective from the Marxists, okay? But there could be pluralist perspective that try to argue that the state or the government are supposed to be neutral third party to produce the policy that allow free and fair competition, right? Like what we have, like free and fair market competition, right? So this can be something that we are going to discuss more about this as well. Okay? All right, so capitalist group, yes, it can be those who control the economic activities in the in a specific context in a specific society.
Sure. How about NGO? Sure.
Yeah, NGO can be another important political actor as well, because you can see that we refer to civil society, that it can be one way is that they can work directly with the people, and generally you can see that they try to influence the people, they try to serve the interests of the people. And why they form into the NGO? Because it can be the best way that they can mobilize the support from the public in order to influence the policy of the government. So by this, you can see that they form into pressure group or interest group, right? They form into pressure group or interest group, and interest group can be the capitalist group, and pressure group can be the non-governmental organization, right? In order to lobby the government and influence the decision of the government. So, but this we are going to discuss about some sort of the tactics or strategy that the different groups use in order to influence the public opinion, right? So when they can influence the public opinions, maybe the government cannot take it for granted. The government need to be responsive, okay, because the government are concerned about the loss of support from the public if they don't design the policy based on the public opinion in that way. Okay. All right, so we have the interest group, host group, capitalist group, or civil society. Okay. And also the voter, right? The voter as a whole, like ordinary people like us. Okay? Yeah, individual, right? Individual, one or more, can be a political actors. Like us, we can be one of the political actor as well. Because when we reach 18 years old, right? So we have the political rights. So we can go to vote to choose any political party that you like, okay, or any political leader that you think that they can have enough capability to create the policy in order to favor the interests of the public, or maybe your own interest possibly. Because when we talk about the politics, so actually we may talk about the this can be the material value or material interest, or ideal value or ideal interest. Okay, but generally you can see that both are important, are equally important. Material interest and value interest. Okay? Because material interest can be a very obvious one. Okay, because we do something in order to favor our interest based on rational choice theory. We can see that we do something because we want to get anything back, right? But to some extent, we cannot overlook, right, the ideal value, right? So because some people tend to sacrifice themselves, okay, in order to promote the ideal values, like the protection of the people rights, okay, like the case in Myanmar right now, right? They work in order to for the sake of public interest, okay, or they can work for the for example, like the the good quality of life for the people as a whole, right? Like for example, like environmental protection, right? Human rights protection. This can be the or like the it can be the public interest rather than their own individual interest. So it can be both, right? But generally, we will look at the what we call political culture, right? Political culture, political attitude, right? Of an individual, right? Because actually we want to learn the um, from the different attitude or behavior or culture of an individual, okay, in deciding to participate in political activities. Okay, so then we may know the reason that what they come up with a certain kind of political activity, and then we can make some changes. Okay, make some changes in order to improve the situation. Okay, so this can be something that we will learn from our course as well, right? And this can be important regarding the political culture, political attitude of the voter or different political actors, or different interest group, or pressure groups, okay, or the political party or party system, right? And also we may talk about the four powers, right, beside the three branches of government that has the traditional some sort of the power in the state institution, right? So beside the executive, legislative, and judicial branch of government, now we have the four powers that we call, media power, right? So media power is important. So we come to talk about how the media play a role, okay, in the politics as well, because at some point you can see that media can manipulate or can control the perception, the attitude of an individual, and come up with, certain types of behavior, okay, or shape their political activity, okay, and then to have a certain kind of political outcome. Okay. All right. So all of this can be something that we expect to learn from our course. Okay. But it can be more than that. Okay. Actually, because when we talk about politics, there could be a broad scope of a topic that we can discuss within the field of politics. Okay. I think we talk a lot about what we are going to discuss within our course, but now we let us discuss the course syllabus, right? And have you read the course syllabus? Let me share with you guys. All right. So can you see the screen I share with you all?
Yes.
All right. So good. So have you read it so far?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because generally, I strongly encourage you to read any course syllabus, okay? Any course, okay? At least twice, okay? At least twice, okay? To comprehend the content in the course syllabus. What do they expect you to get, and what you're supposed to fulfill? What could be the course requirements? So, and then you can be ready for that course, okay? So, by this, again, if you haven't read it, I strongly recommend you to read it, okay, at least twice. Okay? And if you come up with any kind of a question, feel free to approach me, okay, at any time. Okay. All right. So here you can see on the top part can be the my information. So you can see my name and also my email address and a phone number. So you can contact me either by my email address or my phone numbers. Okay. If it is not urgent, so actually you can email me. But if you cannot get response, so actually maybe you can follow. You can make a follow up call. Okay. So you can call me by my. Okay. So we can take note. But actually, I think it could be. You can get access to that to this information anytime. Okay. All right, and regarding the course description, so actually I don't have to read it, so actually you can read it again, but generally you can see what we're supposed to have, what we're supposed to learn, right? So actually this can be, a broad topics for political study, right? But generally, because this course is the introductory course, so to some point it will not, it cannot cover all the topics and issues, right? So the topic that we select to discuss can be limited, and actually you can see here, right, at the very beginning, we will look at the historical development and the function of the modern state, right, like I already mentioned, and the process of democratization, okay, why a state, change toward democracy, okay? And we talk about some challenges that state may encounter and cannot achieve the democratic consolidation. So they may reach a shortcoming in the democratic development. Maybe they cannot reach embedded democracy or participatory democracy. And in the second part, actually, we will look at the state structure and the state institution, for example, like the constitution, the three branches of the government, like executive, legislative, and judiciary, and also the bureaucracy, the public servant who provides the public service to the people. And failure or not regarding the policy implementation based on the work of the public servants. So that's why we cannot take it for granted. We will discuss the bureaucracy culture and the perception and their attitude, right? And also we look at the government system, okay, regarding the government form, like presidential system, semi-presidential system, or parliamentary system. Okay? How they are different, okay, and what could be their strength and weaknesses, okay, and we try to compare and try to look at how it can work based on a specific context, and then we can apply it to any kind of context that we look at. Right, and last but not least, like already mentioned, we talk about the role of different actors. So within domestic politics. So basically, we will discuss the political party, interest group, or pressure group, okay, the culture and the perception and attitude of the voter as a whole, okay, and the other group within the society. Okay. All right, so this can be the topic that we are going to discuss. Okay? But if you have any question, you can raise now. Okay, if you have read it and if you have any question, feel free to bring it for discussion and then come to explain more about that. Do you have any question? No?
No, sir, no question.
All right, good. So, but this we can move on, all right? And here it can be the expected learning outcome, right? So generally, you can see that in the field of comparative politics, what you're supposed to do is to describe, right, and explain the political topics, the political phenomena that you are interested in, right? And then you come up with the some sort of implication. So you make a prediction, right? If and then statement, right? So if this condition can be taken place, right? Then what will happen, right? So this can be something that you normally do within the geopolitical phenomenon discussion, right? So you describe, explain, and predict the possible outcome. Right? So that's why you can see that you are supposed to be able to describe, right, and explain and predict, okay, the outcome, okay, based on the key characteristic and the function of the state, and the democratic consolidation, the democratization, and the function of the state institution. So this can be the the learning outcome, right? And basically, you can see that this can be useful that you can expect to get from your midterm exam, right? So the expected learning outcome can be a guiding star that can tell you what you're supposed to have in your exam or within your term paper or your assignment or your projects. And secondly, we discussed the role and the influence of different actors. Okay? And then this can be something important that we learn from our course, and you expect to achieve those learning outcome as well. Okay. And last but not least, you evaluate the different type of political system and government system, okay, because it can be related to your projects, your assignment. Okay? So you will improve your analytical skill or your critical thinking skill, okay, regarding the political system and the government system, okay, that can be related to the topic that we are going to discuss within our course. All right, and besides this can be the skill and attitude that something important that you can read and you can change over time, okay, whether or not you have achieved those skill or attitude. But actually, I don't have to explain and read everything here. All right, but now let's move to talk about the textbook. Okay? So the textbook that the core textbook that I will use in my lecture. So actually, every week I supposed to give lecture, even those we move to the weeks that each group is supposed to give the presentation, right? So I normally give the lecture in the second session. Okay? All right, so about this, I have lecture every week except the week that you have midterm exam. So I will not give lecture because I want you to have a good quality time to work on your exam. Okay? All right, so about this, I already uploaded the textbook, right? So you can download it. Okay? So it related to the foundation of comparative politics, written by Newton's, okay, and that in 2010s, and focus on the democracy of both modern states. So it's going to be the big theme of our discussion regarding the democratic state, right? Okay, and the textbook that we use for your presentation. Okay, so we will start our presentation in week 5. Okay, so group 1 will do the presentation in week 5. Okay, sorry, let me up. Hello, back. Yeah. Này mày không? Bạn hồ sơ tài liệu sáng với chất đen rồi. Các bạn. Okay, so by this, you can read this textbook for your presentation, and basically, I would like to ask class monitor for a favor informing your class into 8 groups. So, class monitor, could you have randomly your classmates into 8 groups? I make sure that make sure that your classmates are happy about that group. So I don't know the means that you use in order to randomly form your classmate into group, but basically I want to have 8 groups. Okay, so but again, if the class monitor form the group and if you are not really happy with your group members, so let's discuss with me, okay, and with your class monitor how we can fix this problem. But hopefully, I believe that you can work well with anyone, right? You can be friends with everyone. Okay, so how to produce a better learning outcome with everyone because you are close friend, right? Everyone is your close friend. So class monitor, please help me regarding this.
Like in case they can they choose their own group and the those left can be randomly put in the group.
They should not choose their own group because maybe some people or some friends are not happy about that because they choose to work with the first learner and then how do they think about that. So it could be good if you can randomly form into a group and then maybe they cannot say anything about that, okay? Because it can be fair enough. Okay? So do we have any apps that can randomly form into group?
Yes, I can use Excel for that.
Yeah, maybe you can try. Okay, but If anyone, is not happy about the group formation, let me know. Okay, so actually we can discuss. Okay, but hopefully you can work well with one another. Okay, and my group one, okay, especially after your class monitor form into groups. So group one should work with your group member in order to prepare for your presentation, because it's supposed to be a big file. So just only like 3 more weeks, and then it will be your turn to present the specific case. But group one will do the presentation regarding maybe the United Kingdom, right? So in big file. Okay, and these 2 supplementary reading books, you can read it, okay, for your extensive knowledge. Okay, so you can expand your knowledge by your extensive reading. But if you prefer to read more about politics, so actually I still have a number of book reading material, and then I can share to you. Okay, so this week it's supposed to be big one, so we will discuss the course syllabus, and when we clear everything from the course syllabus, we're supposed to end our discussion and our meeting. Right? Actually, I will upload the introductory lecture, because I already recorded the video, but I will upload it later. But I expect that you will read it first, and I will find good time to upload it later. Okay, and then next week, what you're supposed to do is you read chapter 1, right? Development of the modern state, from page 13 to 33, right? But actually, I will have one task for you to do, okay? So normally you have to read it in advance before the class, okay? Why can I say you have to do so? It's compulsory, because here, let's move to the assessment, right? So I can connect with the assessment. So overall, we have 2 quizzes or 3 quizzes. Okay? If we have enough time, so we will have 3. CP case presentation. So we have 8 groups, like what I told you, group 1 to group 8, and based on the specific case, or based on the specific country case, okay? Like for example, like UK, US, France, Germany, India, China, and so on and so forth, right? So we will discuss all of this. Okay, but besides this, you can see that we have one portfolio of your summary note and short reflection. All right, so you're supposed to do it every week before the class. For example, like here, next week, week 2. Okay, so what you're supposed to do is to write a summary paragraphs, okay? A short summary of that chapter 1, development of the modern state. So you write it in 1 paragraph, right? And make a reflection in 1 paragraph. So basically, your paper consists of 1 page, okay, and comprised of 2 paragraphs. Okay, 1 paragraph is about your summary note, and another paragraph is about your reflection. Okay, so what did you learn from that chapters, okay, and how can you apply it in a specific context, and any context, okay? For example, like if we talk about democracy, so maybe you talk about the Myanmar right now, the Myanmar, okay? in what way that you can apply that chapters, okay? So it's just like in short paragraph, like 2 paragraph, right? So it's just like 1 page. It will not exceed 1 page, okay? So just only 1 page and comprised of 2 paragraphs. You got it? And you're supposed to submit it before the class start, right? So I will create the folder that you can drop your reflection, your summary note and your reflection, okay, before the class. Okay, so like I will create after class. After class, I normally create the folder for you to submit the summary note, okay, regarding the chapter that you are going to read for the next class, and you're supposed to make a short reflection what you learned from that and how you apply it. Okay, so how you got it, guys?
Oh, teacher.
Yes.
So we make summary and reflection before the chapter or after the chapter again?
No, before the class start, right? So because By doing so, you are expect to read it in advance. Okay, so it means that when we come to discuss that chapters, actually you have read it, you have summarized the topic, you can apply it in your reflection, right? So you can do it before the class, for example, like next week, right? Before 6:15. So actually you're supposed to submit your first summary note and your reflection. Okay. In the folder that I create, I will put the title like chapter 1 or the reflection summary and reflection note, chapter 1, development of modern state in general. So you can go there and drop your paper there, just one page, and consists of 2 paragraphs. Okay? And make sure that you submit it on time, otherwise it will not be counted. Okay, and generally you can see that every lecture, okay, before the lecture that I make, you need to do it. Okay? Like we have 12. I may give like 12 lectures, so you're supposed to submit your summary note and reflection at least 10, right? Good quality of the summary note and the reflection, at least 10 reflection, right? And a summary note, okay? Based on 8 chapters. Okay, have you got it? Clear? Is it clear enough for you guys? And your summary note, yeah, just only based on the key term or key idea. You don't have to, give any detail or explanation or example, right? So make it short, just one paragraph, and reflection one paragraph. So at least you know what you are going to study, what we are going to discuss, right? And how you can apply it. And I believe that by doing so, you will learn a lot from that. But regarding the just only my lecture, okay, so just only regarding this one, right, the core textbook, right? Because this one will be related to your midterm exam and your final exam as well. The foundation of comparative politics, democracy of modern states. Okay, any question? If you have any question, feel free to raise it up now. But possibly beside this, I may, upload the thought-provoking question for each chapter as well. So possibly I may have 8 questions and ask each group to have answer, each question. Okay, so one group may answer one question. So by doing so, it means that each group can contribute more to the class discussion and provide some sort of insightful knowledge that everyone can learn from your answer as well. And it's supposed to be done before the class as well. Okay, any question?
For me, I don't have any question, Chair.
Okay, so let's move on. So basically, we have midterm on week 8, right? So it just goes through it. And you don't have presentation, and I don't give lecture, so you have a good quality of time to focus on your midterm. Okay, but let's move on to discuss about the assessment, right? So I believe that you are clear enough for your summary note and your short reflection. Just only one page, right? Again, and 2 paragraphs. Okay? And regarding the chapters that I'm going to give the lecture, but you're supposed to submit it before the class. Okay? All right, and you have one video project. It accounts for 15%. Okay, because our department want to promote your digital literacy. Okay, so work on the project-based learning. So, but this you're supposed to design the video contents. Okay, so but basically it requires you to do some research about that. But you don't have to write it. Okay, but actually you just prepare for your video content is required. Because you are required to investigate any case or topic. Okay, I will give the topic of your video project possibly by week 4, but possibly I may move to week 2 or week 3. Okay, if possible. the latest can be week 3. But you have enough time to do that, because like you will project your video, your display your video in week 14 and week 15. So like you have like almost 3 months, okay, to do your video projects. Okay? And your video project can last for 10 to 15 minutes. Okay? And then I don't think that it can be too difficult for you, because you have like 3 or 4 members, so and then you can share with one another like 4 or 5 minutes with one another. Right? Okay, but I will give you the guideline again when I give you the topic. So I will tell the guidelines that what you're supposed to do with your video projects. Okay? But again, I would like to remind you that for week 14 and week 15, group especially week 14, group 1, 2, 3, 4 will display your video content regarding the topic assigned or chosen by your group. Okay, and then you have to define your video or your the video content that you studied. Okay, so it means that you have to clear any question raised by your audience. Okay? And week 15, group 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, and so by this it means that Q&A session, like you have 10 to 15 minutes for each group, okay? According to the available time that we can have. Okay? Right, and midterm and final exam on week 8 and the last week. So I will give the test specification when we come close to the midterm and final exam. All right, but now I give this space for you. If you have any question, feel free to ask now. Do you have any question?
Teacher.
Yes.
Case presentation group and video project group will be the same, right?
Yes, I think it should be the same, right? So
okay, teacher. Yes.
If you are not happy with any group members at the very beginning, so just talk, okay, with me or with the class monitor, and then we can work on that. Okay. Right. I believe that you are friends with everyone, so it should be fine, right? To work with one another. But you can work like with your group members, like CP case presentation and the video projects and video project event. Right? So it's just like 3 important tasks. Okay, do you have any other question?
So you will not right? Or will do it.
Sorry, I could not hear you clearly. So please repeat the question.
I mean, will you call the assistant or just extract it from Microsoft Teams?
Oh, okay. Okay, do you have any other any questions? So feel free to ask now. Okay, again, one more thing that I would like to remind you: attendance policies still, apply, even in the physical classroom. So basically, I will check the attendance twice, okay, from next week, okay, like 6:15 and. So when we move to the presentation week, possibly maybe we will start our class at 5:30, right? So, but now for the time being, can start at 6. So, but actually maybe I will take time to randomly check your attendance twice, okay, throughout the course, okay? Throughout the discussion for each week. Okay, and by this, I believe that you are aware of this. Okay, so make sure that you will not fail the attendance. Okay. Okay, so is there any question?
No, Chair. No.
Okay, so by this, like I told you, we don't expect to discuss for the 2 sessions, right? So I'm going to end this meeting very shortly. Right, but what I want you to do is to read the first chapter, right? So introductory chapter. So from page 1 to page 10, and possibly like what I told you, I will upload the video for you guys, okay, regarding this one. But you can read first, okay, because I want you to read, not just only listen to my lecture. By doing so, you can gain more understanding about that. Okay? All right, so any other question right before I am going to end this meeting? Okay, before I go to end this meeting. Okay. No.
No, sir.
All right, so thank you so much, guys, for your attention and for your cooperation and your contribution to our discussion today. I really like the way that you contribute to the to my contribute to the discussion. You answer my question that can be more interactive, and I really like the way that you have done today. So hopefully in the next following lecture, you will contribute more, right? Be more active. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so have a very good dinner after class. Okay, goodbye everyone. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Goodbye, sir.